Alright, guys. We've been talking about this for a while now. Like, going back to 2019, literally when I started talking politics, and before then I would argue with friends in private, making the same exact argument. Because it's a fundamentally true argument, and one that has, well, I should say it shouldn't have ever been up for debate. At least not among people who even pretend to care about the truth. Within America, immigration is objectively a good thing. Illegal immigration is something that a lot of people are afraid of, but let's say discounting the crime of illegal immigration, illegal immigrants don't really harm the country. They commit far less crime than native-born American citizens do. They're incapable of receiving any benefits from the federal government. Like, they still pay taxes in the form of sales tax and all sorts of other ways that we tax people for basic things they spend money on. So they still pay into the system, not as much as everyone else, but they also can't take from it. So they also bring labor. They don't commit as much crime. Immigrants are objectively helpful for America, even undocumented illegal immigrants, as they say. And this is not just a, like, be compassionate and empathetic progressive position, okay? Even MAGA economists have come out and admitted this because it's just the reality. The economy and America's not sovereignty, it's prosperity relies very heavily on an immigrant workforce. And on top of that, even beyond just the pragmatic argument, America was built by immigrants. It's built on the concept of immigration, of people coming from all over the world to pursue the American dream. And I know that sounds very corny, but that is fundamentally what America is supposed to be all about, right? So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and look into the results of Trump's insane anti-immigration policy. Because right now, we're seeing Trump's dreams be achieved. We're seeing and watching as Trump moves in and has ICE. I think ICE is currently meant to deport 40,000 illegal immigrants per month. Or is it a week? Like, he's set insane numbers. On top of that, I think another 40 or 38,000, somewhere in that ballpark, are supposed to be sent to deported and sent to Guantanamo Bay. You know, that place where we were supposed to be keeping and torturing and interrogating terrorists, convicted terrorists. We have been packing immigrants into planes, giant-ass cargo planes, and flying them out to random countries and demanding that they accept those deportations. Many of these people, I'm sure, don't even come from those countries, so they're essentially illegally immigrating into another country. But as long as it's not America, who cares, right? This is all about making America great again, America first. And as much as the American people may be brainwashed into thinking that this is actually going to help us and that this is going to make America prosperous, the experts who know the economy better than clearly Trump does in particular all say this is a catastrophically bad idea. And now we are watching as communities across the country with a high immigrant population turn into ghost towns. The businesses drying up. There's no business. There is no money. There is no one on the streets. There is potentially, if they get deported, not going to be anyone paying rent. It's a pretty scary situation. But remember, through all of this, the Republicans are cheering. They got exactly what they wanted. This is actually a video that I've been recommended to watch. It's by a YouTuber named Cash Jordan. And I have not even watched a second of this yet, but it did catch my eye when people recommended it, and I think it might be good for illustrating this point. ICE raids create NYC ghost towns as migrants hide. Let's go ahead and see what's going on. Let's see how bad it truly is. I have not watched this yet.
We went to bodegas in Washington Heights, then came over here to the Bronx. Less money coming in, employees not showing up are some of the things that we heard. But for others, President Trump's immigration crackdown means bringing law and order.
So with President Trump's immigration...
Keep in mind, by the way, this is primarily hurting POC communities, which means that for the majority of these, like, white Trump supporters, they're getting exactly what they wanted. Like, this is not a negative thing for a lot of America, because a lot of America voted for exactly this.
Immigration crackdowns underway, certain areas of town are a lot quieter than they used to be, with local store owners revealing a notable decrease in the amount of customers they're seeing, while saying some of their employees are scared they could be spotted by ICE and deported if they come to work. However, New York is not the only city in America where immigration activity is creating ghost towns, and it certainly might not be the last.
Promises made, promises kept, with President Trump taking immediate action on his top campaign focus, fighting illegal immigration. And as ICE closes in on migrants, once vibrant neighborhoods are now turning into ghost towns.
Suslin Pichardo, who manages a Bronx bodega, says fewer undocumented workers are showing up for their shifts and significantly less foot traffic. She calls it the 2025 pandemic.
Here's the thing about this, though. America has been brainwashed into believing that there are hordes of native-born white Americans being rejected for these positions that want these jobs and are trying to get these jobs, but they can't get them because an immigrant is already filling the position, when in reality, these jobs that hire, especially undocumented immigrants, are so undesired that without immigrants to fill them, there is no one to fill those jobs. No one is applying, no one will be hired, no one will fill that position, no one will do that needed to be done labor. And this is especially harmful for these small businesses. Large corporations can get around problems like that. They have their ways. But these small businesses, they're the ones that are going to get hurt the most. But remember, white America doesn't care. This problem primarily affects POC communities, small POC-run businesses, not the types of businesses and the types of people and the types of communities that Republicans and people who vote Republican claim to actually care about. In fact, these are the very communities they demonize.
But this time, an immigration pandemic.
There's a lot of criminals. Now streets is more safe. You can see, you can walk now.
Yeah, they be afraid. They be calling me and asking, Frank, are they gonna come to the store?
A lot of fear, says this man from Ecuador. It's the kind of fear humanitarians are pushing back on, especially those who wish to protect the sanctuary sentiment.
But the reality is 65% of Americans strongly support deporting immigrants convicted of violent crimes.
Yeah, that is true. 65% of Americans support deporting immigrants who are convicted of violent crimes. The problem is, immigrants commit significantly less crime than native-born Americans. And there are significantly less immigrants in this country than there are native-born Americans, meaning the total number of immigrant criminals is very low. There's not that many. And remember, Trump is not running on just deport the illegal immigrants who are doing crime. He's not even just running on deport the immigrants who are doing crime. He's not even running on just deport the illegal immigrants. He is running on, first, we start with the criminals, and then to the rest. That is Trump's quote. We start with the criminals, and then we look into the rest. We start with what 65% of America is in favor of us doing, and then we move on to the rest. That is what he said. So, critically, in these early days, yeah, Trump's going to be doing a lot of the stuff that at least a majority of Americans are in favor of. But we'll have to see whether or not that favorability stays high as Trump continues to do the things that he has vaguely referenced as future plans.
Americans strongly support deporting immigrants convicted of violent crimes.
Some bodega owners are looking to hire employees, in this case documented employees, because they need to keep moving the economy.
There's not enough people applying.
So immigration crackdowns are causing mainstream political panic, with some suggesting they'll lead to a smoothie shortage. But what nobody in the open borders crowd
I have a feeling this guy's a conservative.
wants you to remember is that 4 years ago, before the largest migration
Look at that haircut, bro.
event in U.S. history, we had a reasonably well-functioning country, which was a lot safer. Because it wasn't a hiding place for gang members.
Wait, what? It was safer? So we're just lying. We've got a new... Oh my god, is this guy a new, like, Tyler Oliveira? That's crazy. What I love about this is a perfect example of the delusion that we've allowed, and the left has played into this way too much. And I'm putting my foot down hard on this shit. Obviously not anymore, but up until recently, was the idea that America was getting worse. In some metrics, things were getting harder. A really good example being the value of a college education and a high school diploma decreasing while the necessity for one has increased. Those are real issues, right? Like, it's pigeonholing more and more young Americans into a situation where if they don't pursue STEM, a degree in STEM, then they're likely not going to have as many opportunities. And that's been continuously getting more and more true, right? But overall, it feels like there's been this narrative about America getting worse with each consecutive year, all while wages have been rising, especially during Biden's last 4 years. But for a lot of these stats, this is also true. Wages have been rising consistently. Crime has been dropping consistently. This has been true of every year for like the last 20 years, has been the safest year since the 90s. And the 90s were one of the big eras of, last big eras of America being really low crime. And so the fact that it's as safe now and as low crime now as it's been, especially violent crime. Violent crime is extremely rare now compared to in the past. We're at an all-time low when it comes to crime, especially violent crime. And yet, more than ever, we're watching the news and learning about how there's so much crime, be scared, they're all out there, you're gonna die, blah, blah, blah. Yet all the stats demonstrate that we are safer now than we've ever been. There's less crime happening now than there's ever been. Because we have cameras everywhere? No. The cameras don't really prevent anything. The cameras catch crimes that have already happened and help to catch criminals who've done something bad, which of course helps to, keep the streets clean. Don't get me wrong, but that doesn't do much to prevent crimes. The crimes are happening less, substantially less. And when you go down the list on a bunch of stats that are measured about how you could kind of gauge society's general prosperity, we've been on the uptick for a very long time. But every statistic in which you track Americans' confidence in America's future, every single year, at an almost like exponential rate, America's trust and faith and optimism for the future drops as every stat that should make that rise continues to rise. Like wages are rising, crime is dropping, like everything across the board besides a small few categories, everything's getting better, slowly but steadily. But there are still problems, and there are still portions of America that live in some pretty bad situations. And so the narrative is that things are constantly getting worse, crime is going up, wages are dropping even though they're not. All these narratives, right, about how everything's falling apart, we're entering late-stage capitalism, liberalism is failing, and we need socialism now. These are all ideas the left has pushed, and on the other end, you've got the Republicans with their narrative about the swamp and the establishment and all of that. It is nonsense. It is fear-mongering and trying to stoke discontent and hatred in a population that is so privileged. Like, I have friends that I speak to on a near daily basis who live in developing countries, and it puts into perspective how much better we have it here in America. Like, even the average, like, good Lord, like, even the average, low working class American has it better than a lot of people in the world. And I'm not talking just like really developing countries. I'm talking like the Philippines and stuff like that. You know, like there are a lot of people in this world who have it so much worse, but Americans continue to become more and more discontent with an increasingly high quality situation of things. And you can disagree with me as much as you like, but the brainwashing that Americans, I don't know if it's brainwashing, but the delusion that Americans live in that things are getting worse, outside of Trump getting elected, I guess, but the delusion they lived in is what got Trump elected, because Trump played into that delusion, and it's the same delusion this guy is playing into. This idea that years ago, before this big flood of immigration, things were safer. When years ago, crime was higher than it is now. And years before that, it was higher than it was then. And years before that, it was higher than it was then.
Members and dangerous individuals, the very people Homeland Security is now after, with mass raids taking place in sanctuary cities all across the country. But these raids are turning certain New York neighborhoods into ghost towns, with business owners and residents saying the streets feel much quieter. But that brings up some uncomfortable questions and possibilities, like where did people living in the country without the right to work earn all of the money they were spending at these businesses? Were they
under the table labor? Are we... You know what I love about, like, conservative content? You can just be a guy with a phone who goes to a street somewhere in a city and just talks out of his ass without citing a single source, just making shit up. And how many views does this video have? 2.3 million views in 4 days. This channel has 1.2 million subs. I imagine a lot of those subs were gained in the last few days. Dude, the bar is so low. I was reading my comments today, and I had a comment from a... I forget what the channel's name is, but it was like a Nazi channel. Or no, it wasn't a Nazi channel. It was one of those chud, like, anti-woke gaming channels. Andy Pants Gaming. It was an Andy Pants Gaming fan who commented, Andy Pants Gaming gains 100,000 subs in a few days. It took you 4 years or 5 years to get 100,000 subs. So who's right? And a lot of the hate comments that I get, or a lot of the comments that are trying to debunk my points, are basically that. And it's like, how do you argue with an argument that is simply, you're less successful than the grifters who do everything possible to make money? And more often than not, they follow it up by calling you a grifter. I don't... Like, how do you argue with the appeal to popularity argument of, like, those who are more popular and make more money are naturally correct? Like, I don't... Because they truly believe it, and they will argue it sincerely, you know? And I don't even know if you can argue against it, right? Because it's like correcting a bully or something. You just come off as, like, coping, I guess. But it's just, it's weird, you know? Like, a lot of the people do think that way. Like, these content creators, their success is self-fulfilling. Their success creates success, which justifies more success, which justifies more success, which justifies more success. And once they're successful enough, their success purely is all the validation and substantiation for their positions they need. You know, like, this guy's got 1.3 million subscribers. Why does he need to cite any of the things he claims?
They earning money in a manner connected to the criminal underground by committing crimes, shoplifting, reselling stolen goods, or worse? And those businesses by complaining to the news that
Where the fuck is the... Okay, so on one hand, who remembers, like, a year ago when the narrative was that New York City, LA, all these big cities were allowing shoplifters to just steal from stores, and that store owners all around the country are calling for the police to crack down on these, like, immigrants and stuff that are supposedly shoplifting from stores? Why is it now that suddenly these shop owners are so upset? Like, why are you framing it like now these shop owners are complaining? Like, before, the shop owners were the ones who you were, like, making out to be the victim. Like feel bad for these shop owners. Like, yeah, Prime drinks. He's putting the Prime in here so it gets recognized by the... I bet there's probably some code in the YouTube algorithm somewhere where if you show a Prime logo in one of your videos, it's, like, guaranteed to get 1 million views or something like that. That's got to be a thing, right? Like, you show Prime in one of your videos, YouTube, like, you're guaranteed to get 1 million views. That's gotta be a thing. There's no way it's not.
Immigration raids have scared away their employees. They've just admitted to illegally hiring and employing people who can't legally work and may be in the country without permission, which...
Flawless logic, of course. All of these hundreds of thousands, if not millions of employees that are not coming into work must be undocumented illegal immigrants, and that's why they're not going out in public. That is the only logic. Of course, it couldn't be that Donald Trump and his supporters are running on the idea of deporting even legal immigrants and destroying birthright citizenship. Like, I love this idea. When the false narrative is that they're only deporting criminals, and they start deporting non-criminals, and non-criminals are scared of getting deported, then they get to say, what are you scared for? We're only deporting criminals. Are you admitting to being a criminal? Can't make this shit up.
Which brings us to the real reason why certain parts of New York are turning into ghost towns by allowing over 400,000 people to live in this city without permission to be in the U.S. An entire...
Let's actually see if that's true, because I know on a national scale, they just double the actual number. Famously, Trump in his campaign claimed there are 22 million illegal immigrants in the country. The actual number is closer to 10 million. So they just double the real number. God, my nose is so itchy. Let me see percentage or number of illegal immigrants in NYC. Let's see what the actual number is. New York has more than 600,000 undocumented immigrants, data shows. Who are they? Okay, so that's not a made-up number. Nice. Assuming the Gothamist is not lying. Granted, it's a weird name, but it seems like legit. He didn't make that number up, at least. He didn't just, like, pull it out of his ass. It comes from somewhere.
Economic system has been created, which is illegal and exploits everyone who's part of it. In fact, I spoke to one...
That's right, guys. These immigrants who are getting deported, whose lives are being ruined and they're being, at the threat of violence, removed from the country, we're actually protecting them from exploitation, guys. We're actually helping them by deporting them. His hair looks so bad. That's the Nazi haircut. Like, I'm sure I'll get tons of shit in the comments from this dude's insanely massive fan base, who I'm sure will be very rabid over me criticizing him. Richard Spencer. Richard Spencer kind of popularized it as far as I know. And you'll see it, like, it appears in a lot of forms, but it depends on how they style it. Sometimes you'll see it appearing more like this. It's always with the sides shaved and the long tops, though. And usually it's meant to look like this. Always left to right on the brushing of the top, and they shave the sides. And so it's like a lot of Nazis, like a lot of neo-Nazis rock this haircut. A lot of alt-righters do. And even like outside of the Nazi alt-right movement, they've kind of astroturfed this haircut into being like the macho man haircut. Like, for instance, a lot of the Chad Wojak, like a lot of the original Chad Wojak memes, as you know, were full-on Nazi memes, right? A lot of them were just... So this like Wojak here also has the haircut with the classic beard thing. Like this haircut and this whole bit, it's all part of like the macho Sigma male alt-right chudlord aesthetic, like along with vaporwave and all that other shit they're into.
One restaurant worker who said their boss was hiring newly arrived asylum seekers off the books for far below minimum wage so they could save money. On top of that, if you walked...
Asylum seekers are not illegal immigrants. They're just objectively not. I guess not until Trump makes asylum seekers illegal immigrants by changing the law. But they never have been, and they won't have been until Trump decides that's the case, because seeking asylum is a thing that a lot of other countries offer as well for people to do, particularly if you're coming from somewhere where it's like, hey, they're like killing all the people of my ethnic group in my country. Can I chill in America until like some Navy SEAL like snipes the war criminal running my country and doing the genocide, and my country stabilizes? Then can I go back? They're like, yeah, you're good. And there you go. You just chill in America. You wait for some Navy SEAL to take out the tyrant that's doing the genocide in your home country or doing whatever civil war is going on, and then you come back. I don't know. Probably not a Navy SEAL, but in some cases it might be. I know that was the case for, yeah. Perfect system. Everything was so perfect. We had a good thing going, you piece of shit. Hold on, where's the meme? Where's the thing? This is me at Trump about all of America. Oh, man. We had a good thing, you stupid son of a bitch. And you just had to go and fuck it up.
Down the streets of our working class neighborhoods, you'll see unlicensed street vendors all over the place, some of whom sell products that still have the price tags on them from the stores they were stolen from, which get handed to them in suitcases by a group of men, making you wonder if some of the people spreading out items on blankets are there by choice or not. But as you're about...
Like, this is literally the standard for multi-million view content online these days, as long as you're conservative. Just, you know, low-key imply that they're sex trafficking victims with no evidence whatsoever. The only stat this guy has cited, and I had to go looking for his source, which was a random article by a website called The Gothamist, is that he claimed that 600,000 illegal immigrants were in New York City. And yet, that's the only stat he's referenced. Everything else, he's just making shit up and pulling it out of his ass. I want to hope that the internet is reasonable enough that the comments to this video will be like, hey, you never cited a single source in this video. You just showed random clips of news stories and walked around New York and made things up. But instead, we all know what the comments are going to be. Let's read them. Cheap labor is, in a word, exploitation. No matter how you want to justify it or rationalize it, it's nothing but a euphemism for exploitation. That's right, guys. Deporting these people who don't want to leave with violence and ruining their lives here in America, you're saving them. You're helping them from exploitation. They're the good guys. My friend was stuck being an Uber driver for the last 4 years. Couldn't finish a job in construction. Last week, or couldn't find a job in construction? How many felonies did your friend have? How many felonies, though? Like, 'cause man, not enough, I guess. Like, did your friend not have enough of a criminal record to work in construction? Was he not drunk? Was he not arrived? Did he not show up to the job interviews drunk enough? Like, was he dressed too nicely for the job interview? Did he like drive too nice of a car when he showed up? Like, I don't know. The reason why I'm joking about this is that working in construction, like, I'm just calling bullshit on this at the idea that this guy's friend can't find a job in construction. If that is true, either he has absolutely no qualifications to the point where he's so incompetent they don't even think they could on-site train him, or he's got such a record that he can't get hired for construction, which is insane because they'll hire anybody for construction. That's crazy. Last week, Monday, he walked into a job site and was given a job the same day. He just finished his first week of his work trade in 4 years. Wait, so Donald Trump... Okay, so this is a person claiming that Donald Trump's deportations allowed his friend to finally get a job in construction after 4 years. 4 years of getting rejected from construction positions. He finally got one because Trump is deporting all of the illegal immigrants. That has 5.2 likes, by the way. 5.2 thousand likes. $3.50 for an Arizona can? How does that city even function? There we go. There it is, dude. Donald Trump, we're seeing massive inflation under Donald Trump. Prices for everything are rising under Donald Trump. And what's the excuse? How does New York City and those Democrats even function? Massive egg shortage, egg prices, no conversation about that. No media coverage of the fact that the eggs, are now more expensive than they've ever been. No. $3.50 for an Arizona can, and somehow it's not Trump's fault. It's the Democrats' fault still, though, because it's New York. I'm so excited for the next 4 years of, guys, listen, I know that the pandemic, the second big American pandemic, happened last year, but this is still somehow Biden's fault, even though he was 2 years out of office before it started. Like, they'll find a way. We'll be mass gaslit, don't worry. What a shame that you can no longer abuse illegal employees and that you can no longer underpay them. Oh my god, I love this, like, fake compassion. They need to impose serious fines and charges on the people who hire illegal immigrants. The activities were always going to try to make the activists were always going to try to make this look like a bad thing. But the truth is, most people just don't care anymore. People want clean streets and good paying jobs. The sad thing is, to an extent, this is like the fake narrative they've created, is that the activists are trying to ruin America for their moral superiority, and that normal people are okay, want the deportations. And if you're normal, you want the deportations, because that's how you get clean streets and good paying jobs. And that, of course, got 2.3 thousand likes. I'm out west, but it's amazing how, of course, don't live in a city. Don't live in a city, but it's amazing how the street racing and intersection takeovers have just disappeared, and parks are no longer strewn with trash from the constant parties. Things feel like they were returning to normal, and ICE isn't even here yet. Oh my god, dude. I need you to understand. We are going to watch as these people suddenly start to describe America, anywhere that's not run by Democrats, as a utopia, even while it's burning to the ground. This is amazing, dude. My god. Most of the comments are saying anyone who hires illegal immigrants should be punished and fined or imprisoned as well. What's this guy's content like? What kind of shit does he make? Is this just another Tyler Oliveira channel? How much you want to bet if we scroll back far enough, this guy used to make Mr. Beast clone content? You want to bet? Oh my god, he looks like such a retard in his banner. Oh my god, that's the big giveaway. You know this guy used to make Mr. Beast clone content. Let's scroll. Let's see what this guy used to make. He's been doing this shit. Oh my god, look at all the AI. Dude, look how many of these thumbnails are AI generated. This is AI generated, 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 that's AI generated, this is AI generated, this is AI generated, this is AI generated, that might not be. That's definitely AI generated. That's AI Dude, why does he keep AI? He's AI generated. So many of these AI thumbnails are meant to look like he typed it out such that you wouldn't be able to tell. Like the lighting, it's meant to look like security cam footage, but if you know, like from the perspective, the weird no reason fish eye lens, but also not in certain areas of the photo, like you know this isn't real. Like the store is one long hallway that goes forever. Like you can see these are fake. Like the plane and this is not real. These are not real. Okay, let's find what he used to make before this shit. Dude, AI was the biggest thing ever for these grifters, man. He's been getting millions of views for a while. Okay, here's what he used to make. Oh, okay, he used to make like apartment touring videos. Okay, all right, he's still doing the conservative shit. So he used to do New York City apartment videos. He used to do what seems like relatively decent content. I guess he saw that the views were bigger in the AI generated sensationalist stuff. It's so sad, dude. It's so sad to see how much the right-wing grift of easy money and the temptation of all that easy money, so much money, dude. And it is a temptation, man. It is a real temptation to see constantly, without fail, on repeat, how easy it is to just coast into becoming a millionaire off of this, like, culturally, morally, and intelligent intelligently bankrupt content. You know, this guy used to make something that I think he was passionate about, like apartment touring. I feel like this guy had like the realtor passion, you know? Like he wasn't getting insane views, but he had there were good videos. There were videos that did well. But like when you look at what he started making when he lost his soul and he started pumping out the garbage, you can see the view count per video just exponentially increased. He, you know, more often than not, 700, 800,000, a million views. The more AI and the more crazy he makes the videos and their thumbnails, the more views they get. And he seems to have really locked in on his formula around here. A lot of AI generated. This one seems real, and this one I think is real. That one might be a real image. That one's AI. That one's AI. You can tell from the coloring of it. Sometimes it's just the coloring gives it away. Also, like looking off into the distance is usually a good way to tell with these. That's AI generated, I'm pretty sure. That might be real. This one is definitely AI generated. You can tell from the coloring of the image too. This is AI generated. You can tell from a lot of... No, actually, that might be real. I think I recognize that image. I think that might be real. But a lot of this stuff, like this one's AI. You can tell from the way it is. Some of these are real. He seems to have cut back more on the AI thumbnails as of late. That's probably what's gotten him a lot more views, actually. If he is using AI, it's in cases where he's able to generate something that looks really real. But for a while, he was really going lazy and shameless with the AI thumbnails. He was real like, oh my god, this one's blatant. Look at this. He was really being blatant with it for a while, man. God, it's such easy money. And this is why it's like so hard for the left to build anything online that can rival what they've got going on. Because, man, look at like people like Vosh and Hassan and how quickly they folded to anything that makes them more money than like reasonable, rational political commentary, you know? Don't do it, Zan. Don't worry, I'll never do it. I simply have too much shame. I have too much shame to, like, grift and sell out, you know? Regardless, though, I feel like that was a valuable segment for looking into how the right has dominated this space with their misinformation. I expected this segment would be more about illegal immigration. And I guess it was, but it really was more about people like that guy and the easy grift. But it is what it is, you know? Listen, if you enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, educational, or in any way enjoyable to watch, then please consider leaving a like and a comment. Every single thumbs up and every single comment, while totally free, goes a long way to boost my channel in the algorithm, and it really, really does help. So I appreciate every single one of you who does that. It means the world to me, seriously. I really do appreciate it. And of course, if you haven't already and you want to see more from me on other websites, you can subscribe and ring the bell icon, of course, to see more from me on YouTube. But you can also follow my social medias, linked down below in the description, and follow all my other stuff there, see what I'm posting on other websites. And then, of course, finally, if you want to support me directly, help me keep the lights on, the roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, I always appreciate it if you can. If you want to donate, subscribe, or gift a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buy some Xander Hall merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Regardless, I really do appreciate it. And as always, I hope to see you again, and I hope you have a good one.